right, guys, we're back. Stay with me here. This is part 3 of the lead changes. I know I've broken it down and I've kind of stretched it out a little bit, but I feel like it's one of those things that gets really complicated, even though it's super simple. I mean, it's the thing that we always talk about, that horses change in the field. They do it by themselves. It's probably the most natural maneuver for a horse to do. And yet I really, truly, in all my experience as a horse trainer, seem to find that people come up against this. I come up against it. I mean, I've broken it down myself because I can sure run one through the middle, and to quote my good friend Casey Deary, I can get the John Wayne style lead change, but it's not fantastic. You need to be able to ask or call on that horse when you want it, in the speed and the direction that you want it. So we're going to do part 3 here. It's going to be a little bit longer, so stick with me because we're going to go right back. We're going to break down everything that we've done in part 1 and part 2 and kind of do a recap, and I'll show you how all of those exercises, how the cones come together at the lope, and then we're going to go into the counter canter, and then we'll finish it with actually coming through the middle and changing leads a couple times, and kind of see the exercises that I use on a finished horse to keep one honest through the middle, to keep his shoulders up, to keep him straight. We want to take a minute today as well to just pause. It's been a rough week for those in our police force, for the RCMP. It's the loss of a member, I think, across the country. That hits home to anyone who's worked in that. We have customers and clients here in the barn who work in the force and have been part of that for many, many years as career law enforcement. It's unbelievably sad to lose anyone, but for those men and women who put themselves in harm's way for a living to protect us, I think it's very important. And so we're wearing red, Maverick and I, here today as an opportunity to salute you guys for everything that you do. We're very, very thankful for it. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go back to controlling the shoulder. We talked about body position. The first thing we're going to go back to is controlling that shoulder now at the lope. How does it look like when I do this at the lope, coming between the cones and picking that shoulder up and making sure that it comes away from that rein? So I'm going to pick this horse up on the left lead here. We're going to let him open up a little bit at the beginning. I try to stay out of his way. I don't mess with him too much, just kind of find out where he's at today. Let him lope through that circle and open up and get some movement. He looks pretty good coming around the top of the circle. It's pretty good. As I come through the middle here, I'm going to go two-handed, and I'm going to pick up on him a little bit, make sure he keeps those shoulders between the reins. I don't want it to get too bad too soon. You see him shuffle around there a little bit and get kind of squirrely. See, you got to put those cones in the middle so that you put that pressure on yourself to stay there. The chances of me actually feeling that horse out and finding that squirreliness in his shoulder right there that you could see is less when I'm one-handed. So you'll see I go let him out there one-handed, pick him back up two-handed, ask him again, can he come around that cone and pick that shoulder up smooth? There, he picks it up really good. I'm going to just take him through and set him back down on that left lead, let him coast through. And you have to put those cones there to put that pressure on yourself so that when you come in the middle, you really are getting that horse straight up and you're not cheating just that little bit. In the show pen, that cheating at home just that little bit is going to cost you. The next thing that we're going to talk about, and this is where the counter canter begins to come in at the lope, when you come through those cones and start to get that rib cage, that second part of what I need to get from this horse's body before I can really go through the middle and get a flying lead change. So I'm going to do the same thing again here. We're going to pick up that horse on that left lead. Now we've gone to part 2 of the body parts. We're going to get the rib cage this time, so we're just watch. We're going to let him out there, let him run on that circle. I mean, it's amazing to have the background here in that huge outdoor arena, and you just can't get enough of opening a horse up and letting him really free up and be cool. Again, I'm going to come up here at that 3/4 mark. I'm going to pick up. I want him to know that we're going to work on something. I'm going to come through the middle. I'm going to push on that rib cage, and this is where your counter can comes from. You put that right leg in, and you kind of drive him up through that counter canter with that right leg, and make sure that his rib cage comes up and stays out of the way. I'm going to coast him through. Let him kind of lift and push and drive, and I continue working that rib cage all the way around. I'm just going to kind of hold him there and make him keep his rhythm. We're going to get back through the middle here and set him down and let him go back to the left and relax for a minute.
you can't get asking for too much at once, you know. I mean, this horse is broke. He knows his job. He's been broke long before I got a hold of him. But you've still got to build them up to it. They have to get into this system where they can, you know, use those muscles and kind of warm them up. So I'm going to do the same thing again. We're going to come through the middle, pick up two-handed, lift that horse's rib cage over. I want to make it smooth. You know, he's a little bit squirrely because he knows this game, and he kind of, you know, he's got a lot of try. This is a horse that has a lot of try. He wants to try for me all the time. We always chuckle about that, you know. So I came through the middle. He's really good. Next thing I'm going to start to do is take his neck left and right and really get him softened up. You see, I've got to get that neck independent from the rest of his body so he can come through the middle and lift up and change those legs and move his body around and be smooth. We're going to put him back down on that left lead and let him coast back around again, because we really have to just break him loose left and right and make sure that he can stay independent through all of those body parts while we put pressure on the right, put pressure on the left. You know, he's pretty good through the middle, and he's really a big time horse. He really tries really hard. So a lot of times with this horse you find that he's over trying. So, you know, coming through the middle now with one hand, you know, just kind of pick him up and push him over again, ask him a little less, but try to get some rhythm and some relaxation and some softness coming through there. I'll put my hand down. He starts to look pretty good and feel pretty awesome as we cruise around. And that's where you're really getting to, is you want him to take that pressure and keep his rhythm and not lose his brain when you start to put that pressure on him left and right.
So the final piece is how we get that hip, and that's really where you start to get, you know, your change. That's where you get on your counter canter and you get that horse loping around and lifting that shoulder and getting that rib cage out of the way, and then we're going to ask him to step that hip into that change. So we're going to go right there, and we're going to mess around and show you a little bit how I'll just ask on the counter canter. I think one of the big things here is when you start to ask really for the lead change from the counter canter is to not panic. If you ask the horse and he doesn't understand that final piece, just go back to the counter canter, just ask again. I think that's one of the things where we get stuck. We start to harpoon that horse or kick on him, you know, poke a hole in him, spear him, whatever you want to call it. And you can imagine that that's where some of your problems can start to come in, where you leap in the air, the horse kind of anticipates it and starts to run off. So it's very important, if you ask, it's really just a cue. That final piece is just a cue to tell that horse, okay, change, we've set you up, we've put your body in the place that it needs to be, now we're going to change you. If they don't get it, don't worry about it. Keep going around, ask them again, ask them again, ask them again. When they do get it, typically break down and let them know that really that's what you were asking for.
So we're going to pick that horse back up on the left lead. I've stayed to the left because, you know, it's consistency here in the video, so you guys can see it and it comes out the same and it's easy to watch. Obviously you're going to go left and right, but I really believe in working on that horse the same direction multiple times to really make sure that he starts to find a rhythm and starts to see a pattern in what we're doing. So we're going to pick him up through the middle. He looks a little softer now. You know, we've done it a couple times. He's started to warm into this and he's starting to feel a little better. You feel a different sort of smoothness. Driving with that right rein and right leg. You almost push his rib cage up there. Then I'm going to switch him. I keep that right leg on, but I might bump that left leg a little bit and kind of take his neck the other way. Get him soft and take him back this way. I need him to keep that same rhythm all the time. And we're going to come through the middle. We're going to ask him to change and see what we got. He's a little elevated, you know. I mean, he knows how to change, so it's not hard for him. But when you start to work on them all, they get a little elevated. But that's it.
Perfect. So now that you've seen how we get all those body parts together and how they come together at the lope, in the lead change, coming through the middle here, I'm going to break it down into two other exercises yet that I use now on a broke horse to keep them honest through the middle. Because if you get one that changes really good, you always get that feeling that they can change without you, or they could make that mistake through the middle, and it's really costly. And really everything that we're doing is just to get these horses broke. There's no magic to it. You're just trying to get to a point where you can handle everything. And you know, I'll let you a little in on me. I'm going to sit here on my phone. I don't normally tell too much about myself, but I love being in front of the camera. It's really fun, and I've had a really, really good time doing this little series, and I've really enjoyed talking to you guys and working through this. And I'll be honest, it's helped me explain what I do and why I do it. I mean, I've learned from this too, because I have to actually put it there in front of you on the camera. And so most of it I know pretty deep inside me, and I can walk up here to the camera and I can talk to you guys and it just comes out because it's natural. But I had to write this down last night because I was talking about it to myself. I do that on occasion, quietly. All these exercises really are just ways to break your hand from your leg and to really break down the gaits, the body parts, and the frame into entirely separate pieces till no one or the other is connected to each other in a dependent way, but rather become independent parts of a machine able to work at maximum strength in various situations or body positions. And you rewind and think about that, but that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get this horse to work at its maximum potential in varying situations. I want to be able to put it in all kinds of situations with his neck a little this way and a little that way, and I don't want to have to be perfect on this horse for it to work good. It needs to understand that it's a partnership, and it has to put some in, and I have to put some in. And so I think everything that we're doing here is very much about getting that horse to be comfortable in very, very different situations when I might go in the show pen and I might make a mistake. My reins might be uneven. That's a joke. Did you know the difference between an open rider and a non-pro's reins? The open rider's reins are uneven on purpose. So I'm going to break it down now to a couple other little deals here that I use to keep a broke horse honest through the middle. So the first exercise that I use to keep a horse honest through the middle is running hard on the fast circle, slow down in the middle, and instead of changing leads the other direction, I'm going to pick that horse up and I'm going to canter it in a small, slow square the opposite way. Okay? So we've got to run fast on the circle or run at a good speed on the circle. When you come through the middle, we have to slow that horse down straight ahead. Then we're going to pick up his shoulder, but we're going to keep that hip in the lead that we're on, and we're going to actually lift him around into a small canter square the other direction. You know, so what we're basically doing is saying we can run wide open through the middle. I can pick you up and slow you down at center. I can even go the opposite direction, but I need to know that I can depend on you to stay in that lead until I ask you, because otherwise you run through the middle, you slow down hard, and we all know that that's one of those areas where you can really pop a lead and, you know, drag a lead through the middle or so many different things.
So this time I'm going to pick up to the right because we're going to go through the middle and I'm going to show you that kind of square. So I pick up. This horse is running pretty good now. Got a really good rhythm to him. And what happens a lot of times, you're running real fast through the middle and you go to slow down, and on a good lead changer, they'll swap leads on you. So I'll slow him down in the middle and then I'm going to pick him up and take him to the left. And I need that horse to run hard, slow down through the middle, stand up, go the other direction, but stay in that lead. I'm really putting a lot of pressure on. It's really, really important when you do this exercise that small is a square. You want to lift him up, then release him for getting straight, and lift him up and release him for getting straight. It's very, very important. We're going to set him down. We're going to do this one more time. We'll come through the middle here. We're running really good. Push him up there a little bit. You're going to see this time through center, he's going to be a little softer, and he kind of stands up really nice and keeps that shoulder. We're going to drive him, then we're going to put him down, put him down, put him down. We're going to pick him up again, drive him, put him down, put him down, put him down, put him down. Pick him up, drive him, and you get into that rhythm where that horse starts to follow your hands and he stays between your legs, whichever way you pick him up and push him around. Now, you can see him, he fell out of lead there a little bit and he lost it because he was anticipating, like, I get to change leads, we're on the left now. You know, so I didn't worry about it. We're going to pick him up, we're going to do it another time. It was pretty good. We almost got through that exercise. And then this horse got a little bit smart and thought, you know what, I think I know what the plan is. I ask him one more time here, pick him up, let him go, let him coast. Pick him up again, drive him, let him go, let him go. Pick him up again, drive him, let him go, let him go, let him go. Pick him up again, come straight through the middle. There we go, that's better. We're going to set him down and we're going to let him go, let him relax a little bit. He's felt pretty good through the middle.
The second exercise that I use, and again, these are for broke horses. These are horses that are really very consistent through the middle and definitely know their job. And I'm just, again, trying to make sure that I can ask that horse to do whatever. So there's a lot of times I'll lope on the circle, and when I come through the middle, I'll actually change to the canter, but continue going around on the same circle. So I'll show you guys that in a second.
I'm going to pick him back up on the left lead. And I'll show you a little bit here. And this is just a way to keep them super, super honest. Again, we're coming to the same thing all the time, that these horses start to know. I mean, we don't go that far outside the box, but we always need them to lead change in a certain space in that arena when you got a good broke show horse. So I'm going to run through the middle with this horse, and I'm going to start to pick him up and set him up. But now he's really got to keep that shoulder up and change leads and stay on the left circle. You see, I'm going to go around on that counter canter and make him really work for that. And then you can work on your counter canter, go in that direction for a little bit, you know. But I really think it's super important that you can pick them up and change directions as hard as possible into that small square and have them not change leads. And then in the same sentence, you can come through the middle and pick them up and change leads, but have them stay on the same direction. And once you get to that point, you pretty much have a horse you can go show any day of the week.
Cool, guys. I hope that wraps it up. I'm sure it's always going to raise more questions. I can't cover everything. I would love to. I enjoy it a lot. But I've had a lot of fun doing this series, and I've really tried to dig into it deep and show you everything that I do right from the beginning on through. And I think in this case, we come down to the final 3 key points. Number 1 being creativity. I mean, it's such a simple thing. And in the reining, it's done through the middle between these cones all the time. If it's done anywhere else, other than maybe down on the end when you're getting that lead correct after a rollback, but if it's done anywhere else in the reining pen, you're going to get in trouble for it. So we have to do it in that space. But be creative, mix it up, go here, ride there, use these tools, pick them up, change them through the middle, don't change them through the middle, change them to that, use all these different things. Be creative. Pick around with that horse until you start to get together with him coming through the middle and he's not thinking that this is the last thing in the world that he wants to address today because you guys get frustrated or struggle with it or don't have him moving good. The second one is consistency. Keep moving. Keep that consistency. Keep that ability to just do it. Just chip away at it. Be consistent. Do it all the time. Lead change 100,000 times, and you're going to find that it's not a problem. Change here, change there, change everywhere. Don't change in the middle. Again, we're coming back to the same thing. Be consistent. Just do it. Don't be afraid of it. And finally, the third key point, I think, in all of this, through all of this little series that we've done on lead changes, is just control. I mean, you're really just trying to control that horse's movement. We know that he can change leads fabulous. Out in the field, they change beautifully if we don't mess around with them. But we're trying to control this. We're trying to put it in a certain space at a certain point in time in a certain place of the stride. All of these things come into play, and he knows that. I mean, you're trying to control him when at the same time he knows what's coming. And so all of these things are just more tools in your toolbox to help you control that horse in that particular situation. So that's it. We've gone through all this stuff. We've done a whole bunch of shooting here in April because it's been quiet, and we've had to quarantine, we've had to sit at home and think about new ways to do stuff, and it's been a really good space for me to put some time into this. I've had a lot of fun with this lead change thing. We're going to wrap this up. We've got one more special feature coming next week with a rundown exercise that my buddy Leif Harbridge is going to guest star in. We're going to have a lot of fun with that. We kind of put him on a horse that he'd never ridden before and said, here, run down, see how bad it's going to be. So you guys are going to want to come back and watch that. And then we've got a new series coming up where I'm going to pick a friend, a customer of mine who's agreed to learn to ride a reiner, and has come from other horse backgrounds, other horse disciplines, and has come out and started to take some lessons and be here in the barn and hang around. And, I kind of approached her and said, hey, let's do a learn to ride a reiner series or something like that. So it's still in the working phases, but check back for that in May because I think that's going to be a lot of laughs. I'm not sure who's going to laugh the most or whose expense it's going to be at, but we're going to have fun with that one. So thanks, guys. Like, subscribe. You know how it goes. Leave me comments. Let me know what else you guys want worked on, and we'll keep them rolling. I'm having time of my life. It's really good.